Howdy YouTube, Unky Joe here, Unky Joe's Playhouse. How is everybody doing today? I'm going to bring you a video covering just another day in the life of an IT guy. And I ran into a problem here. Well, I have a client of mine that has all my clients have a VOIP system, but this one's one of my larger ones. And they were complaining about, they've had some of these phones 3-4 years. They're complaining that some of them are dropping calls and they're not working right, and one had potentially a bad switch in it, etc. So I'm going to take you with me today on the to the client site, and then we'll finish up here in the shop, and I can explain to you exactly what happened. So I'm going to try and keep this video under 35-40 minutes. So, but basically it's going to be me going around and showing you my testing procedure for these phones. In fact, these phones are right here behind me if you see them there next to the aquarium. And so we'll be going over that on this video. And so I just wanted to share that with you tonight. So here we go. I'm gonna start editing this video and hopefully get it uploaded here by Friday morning, so you'll have something to watch this weekend. So stay tuned. Be right back. And of course, it wouldn't be a day in the life of an IT guy without a serious cup of coffee. And there she is. Alright, so this is one of the misbehaving Grandstream calls, or phones. They're telling me that it will just drop calls in the middle of a conversation. So we need to pull that phone out and exchange it with another phone, and then we'll take this phone with us, run some diagnostics on it, see if we can't find the problem with the phone, and we'll take it back to the shop and test it there. So I got a couple of phones. I'm here at my desk, and I got a couple of phones, and let's see if I can get the picture a little brighter. No, that's probably as bright as it's going to be. These are untested. They've been pulled out of service, but they haven't been tested. So I need to take these with me as well, test them, make sure they got firmware upgrades on them, and give them a clean bill of health. This phone that's on my desk is not really needed. So worst case, I could transfer this over to the other workbench where or the other desk where we're having trouble. And I haven't had any trouble with it, so that's probably what I'll do. I'll probably move this phone over to that desk, reconfigure it for that user, take her phone, and take it in for testing. And so I also have this phone here at this desk, which is not currently in use. And I will take this one downstairs because I have a phone that apparently has a bad switch on it. So I will take this one with me downstairs, hook it up in place of the one that's there, and see if we don't have a little better luck with it. Okay, so I'm going to take you with me. I got a selfie stick, so I'll take you on the journey. We're going to go downstairs into the print shop, and we're going to take this phone and replace the one that's down there, and then mark the one that's down there to take back to the shop with me, get checked out. I have nearly fallen on these stairs at least 20 times. Something about the way they laid the stairs out just isn't right. Ooh, we got a dark hallway here. Don't like dark hallways. So, this door leads us into the print shop / shipping area. Of course, it's hotter than Hades back here. Well, not really. It's not too bad. And the phone we're going to replace is the one here on this desk right here. This phone right here apparently has a bad switch. So we're going to try and swap it out and see if we can't get the problem to go away. Okay, so I hooked this other phone up. It's got an address of 10.0.0.220, and it shows it's hooked up. Of course, it's not responding to any button presses now. Interesting. Seems to have, oh, there it goes. It's doing a firmware update. Good. It should be doing a firmware update. This phone hadn't been plugged in months, so I guess it knows what it's doing. Validating firmware. And it'll reboot here in a minute. And while it's doing that, I'm going to check the PC and make sure that I can still log onto the network. But we'll wait till this firmware update is done. Okay, so the firmware update is just about done. I have verified that the PC does log into the network. So the problem we were having with this phone was that it was not getting a network. The problem was it wasn't passing the network through, like it had a bad switch. But I'm going to let this phone go ahead and finish its update. I don't need to sit here at this desk anymore. I can go ahead and go upstairs to my desk, and I'll only need to come back here in case something gets foobarred with this firmware update. So we'll let that run. We'll come back and I'll show you what we find when we get upstairs. It's gonna take about 5 or 10 minutes for this phone to finish its update. So we'll come back. So yeah, why don't you just come with me? Got the selfie stick. I'll take you with me. It's Sunday afternoon, day before Memorial Day in the United States. So we're just there's the car out there. Come back up to my desk. And they put this light in, I think it's to keep people from falling down the stairs when it's dark at night. So we'll come back to my little cubby here, and then we'll sit down here and just trying to focus, and we'll try to get see what we can find out on this phone downstairs. So I spent the better part of the last hour going down a frickin' rabbit hole because somebody had hit star 74 on their phone and had forwarded their calls, and I wasn't aware of it. So I had to correct that. I spent an hour trying to figure out every time I called the user at the extension that I set up, it got forwarded to a cell phone. And I just could not for the life of me figure it out. And then I finally went back and looked a little bit closer and discovered that the person whose extension this used to be had enabled his call forwarding and hadn't told me, because normally I put them in what's called the follow me list. If I want to forward to somebody's cell phone, I just forward it that way. But unfortunately, the user didn't tell me. So thanks for wasting an hour of my time. A wonderful job of an IT guy. All right, so I have this phone now programmed for the new user. So we're going to disconnect. Flip her over, disconnect her. Now I'm going to take the power supply with me just in case, but it's something you really have to watch for on these Grandstream phones. They tell you right on the back what the voltage is. See it right there, DC 5 volt. However, some of them are 12 volt phones. So you have to make sure, if you're not using power over Ethernet, and I forget if these phones support PoE or not, that you have to make sure you have the right power adapter. Now it should just be a matter of me taking this phone over to this user's desk, plugging it in, and I should not need the power supply because this person has a direct power over Ethernet connection. So we'll just verify that here real quick with this other phone. And excuse the camera work, folks. Okay, so they have a blue wire and they have a black wire. I know it's hard to see. The blue wire was connected to the LAN side. The black side is the PC. So, get this phone out of the way here. Love trying to do this stuff one-handed. So, the PC is going to plug into PC. Plug that into PC. And this side plugs into the LAN. And we should get power. And we do. That's a good sign. It's always a good sign when we get a phone that'll power up. Let's move her cords back. All right. So this phone should now boot up. 2120s are really good phones. I've had really good luck with them. The 2140 that this is replacing, I only had one of them and it has been nothing but trouble. But of course it could have taken lightning hits, it could have taken, you know, any number of things. And this is a good example. This 2140 is a 12-volt phone, not a 5-volt phone. Fortunately, the switch I have automatically detects what voltage the device needs. So we'll let it finish booting and I'll see if I can make a phone call. I couldn't do all these connections up here power over Ethernet because at some point we had to put switches in up here, and the switches don't pass through the PoE, the power over Ethernet. I could have done it a little bit differently, but cost was a factor in this installation. Boy, this phone is slow to boot. Yeah, but cost was a factor. Otherwise, I would have put all PoE switches in. Here we go. Now we're getting some lights. But no display. There we go. All right. So let's see if I can make a call. It looks like it's dialing internally. The only problem is this is a it's a 10100 phone, so it's gonna slow her computer.
This is Kirby.
There we go.
Sorry I missed.
It's a 10100 switch in this phone, so it's not going to be a fast connection for her computer. But she's not a heavy duty data user, and this 2140 is now going to go back to my office and back to the shop. See if we can't figure out what the hell is wrong with it. The next thing we need to attack here is a laptop that is misbehaving. My phone is currently doing a firmware update, so yeah, lights, camera, action. So alright, so the user left the computer here, but I don't believe they left it on. In fact, I'd be willing to bet you money they didn't. Yep, I'd have won that bet. Sony Vaio Ultrabook. Nice machine. Alright, so I'm going to try to log on to this thing and see if I can't fix it. Okay, so the problem we're having, I put Kaspersky. Ooh, hey, you can see me. I put Kaspersky on this last week, and anytime you insert a USB device in here and try to scan with Kaspersky, it throws up an error. So I'm going to go through and get rid of some software on here that I don't believe that we need. And I think the main one we don't need is going to be the Intel. Oh, and I hate this. I hate this start menu. First thing I'm going to do is change the start menu. Go to classic shell. Actually, I don't have to do this from here. I can do this remotely, which is what I'm going to do. Now that I've woke the machine back up, I'm going to go ahead and log off. I'm going to sign out and go back to my desk. So as you can see, we're getting through these laptop updates. I've got the laptop set up now so I can leave and get on them remotely and complete the updates, but just wanted to show you we got some storms coming. Right about here is where I live, where the arrow is, right there. And here's where I am right now, right in the northwest corner of San Antonio. So it looks like we got some weather coming. So hopefully I'll beat the storms home. I don't like being in a mobile home when a bunch of storms are coming. And I've got some other machines that are finishing updates. And a VIO that, man, this VIO had a lot of crap software on there. I spent probably the last half an hour just cleaning up all the software on there. I got the phones in place, so I got a replacement phone for me. I ran into a problem. We bought a USB 3 card for this unit, put it in, and I'm having trouble getting it to recognize drives in that Sabrent USB holder. So I don't know why I didn't think of this earlier. I've got blank 5 1/4 inch bays here on this old Dell. So I ordered a 5 1/4 inch to 3 1/2 inch hot swappable serial ATA drive tray for my backup drives. It doesn't require a sled for them. The backup drives just slide in and out. So when I come here once a week, I can pull this drive, take it off site, put a new one in, and do the rotation that needs to be done. So that's it for that. I had put a couple of new keyboards in for a client, and show you what those look like. They're Amazon basic keyboards. They're about, I think, $12 a piece, but nice little keyboards. They remind me of that Logitech with the chiclet keys that tried to be the Mac keyboard. So I'll take you into office where I have one of them set up. I try to keep the camera down so you don't know. Anyway, that's an Amazon basic keyboard. Not a bad little keyboard. It's a chiclet keyboard. The only problem is it's going to be hell to keep clean. Yeah, because you got all these spots. I still prefer the Logitech, but this client didn't want to spend a lot of money on keyboards. The problem with this lady is she had worn the letters off of her Dell keyboard. See, they're gone. You know, now she's a touch typist, so she probably really didn't need them. But I had ordered a couple of keyboards, and I remembered her telling me a few months ago that her keyboard had lost its letters. So, lovely view of the carpet. And then this is the phone that was on my desk. So now we've got it set up for this user, ready to go. Good to go, I hope. And the one down in the print shop we got squared away. As I told you, I had a user who I took his phone that he hadn't used in over 9 months, took it downstairs to replace the other guy's phone, but what he hadn't told me, the guy whose phone I took, is that he had forwarded his calls using *74 to his cell phone. So it was locked onto that phone. So every time I went to call that extension, even though it didn't belong to him anymore, it belonged to somebody else, it would dial his cell phone number. So I went in on that phone. Unfortunately, you have to do it on the phone. You can't do it remotely. It's one of those physical things you have to, well, not that I know of, can you do it remotely. But you have to go into the phone and hit *73 to turn off call forwarding. And once I did that, bing, bang, boom, all was well. So I've also ordered a PoE switch that'll stay here on this desk. But I need it to test these phones back at my lab, so I'll use it there at my lab and then bring it here. Because it belongs to the customer, they bought and paid for it. So I'll bring that here after I'm done using it and find out what's going on with the phones. Bring it in. He was like $79 or $69. And then the 31st, this drive tray should be in, or removable drive slot should be in, so that I can remove these drives and not have any problems getting them to back up. So there you go. I'm going to end it here today for this client. I'm going to pack my bags and get my butt home. It's already about 7:20 in the evening on Sunday, so I don't want to be out too late. And if this weather turns nasty, I'd rather be at home than be stuck here. So I'm going to finish swallowing my coffee, pack up my bag, and get the hell out of here. So this is the phone that drops calls. It's the GXP. See here, 2140. And why is my camera all hurt and jerky? Interesting. Anyway, the customer complaint is it drops calls. So this phone is connected by a PoE, the yellow cable. And what I've done is just put it in conference. I had it join a conference call. And I'll just let it sit there for 10-15 minutes and see if it drops the call. And then what I'm going to do is call another extension internally and just keep the call open for 10 or 15 minutes, and then I will make a call to my cell phone and let it run for 10 or 15 minutes and see what happens. Then we'll get on to this one, which supposedly has a bad switch in it. It's a Grand Street 1400. And then we'll move on to this one, which just says test, which means we don't know the status of it, but assume it's working okay. So we'll come back to that at the end of 15 minutes, and we'll see how it does. So there we are. It's been on the conference for 15 minutes. So I'm going to end the call, and then I'm going to call from another extension. It says end call. There we go. So I'm going to call to another extension, from another extension to this one. This one is 210, I think. Yeah, it should be 210. I think that's what we labeled this. Well, let's find out. So let me come over here. Let's do 210 dial. And it is ringing over here. Okay, I'm going to leave the connection open. I'm just going to set the phone here for now and leave the connection open. And we'll let that run for 15 minutes and see if that drops any calls. And we should be able to come over here to my panel and see that Michael is now talking to the work desk, and it's been up for 31 seconds. This is on 3CX. Pardon my camera for not wanting to focus today for some reason, but there you go. So we'll come back in a few minutes, 15 minutes. We'll see if the connection's still working. Alright, so we've had a connection between 210 and 205, and it's been running for 15 minutes. And no drop calls so far. So let's go over to the phone. As you can see, it's still off the hook. It has indeed been running for 14 minutes, 31 seconds. Let's pick up the receiver. Test, 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 test. You can hear it on the other phone. Test, test. I'm going to say that was successful. Come back over here to our reception panel, and you can see that the call is now ended and they're both green. So now what it's time to do is I'm going to have that phone call my cell phone, and we'll see if it drops a call from an outside line. Hopefully my internet connection will stay stable enough. So we'll give that a try next. Alright, so that phone has passed the 1 minute or the 15-minute call test. So the next thing I want to do is, this unit has a switch on it as well. So what I want to do is plug another device into the switch and make sure I can exchange data between it and the switch. So what I'm going to do is set up my laptop on my little roll around cart, and we'll plug into the back of this and use it as a switch just to make sure everything is going to work. So let's do that next. Alrighty, so we're doing a file copy here from my laptop from my network to my laptop through this phone, and all appears to be working well. So while it's doing that, I'm going to join another conference.
Please enter conference ID and then. You are creating a new conference. Press pound to cancel or star to continue. Pronounce your name after the signal and then press any button.
Joe Straley. Okay, so I've set up the conference. Still copying files. And what I'm going to do is copy some larger files. I'm going to let that conference run for about 15 minutes. So you see I only got a 100 megabit connection on this laptop, and I'm getting 10,000 kbs, so that's about 100 megabytes or megabits per second. Just copies the music onto my laptop. Sorry, this is all handheld, but I didn't feel like setting up screen capture. You can hear the groovy music playing in the background on this phone. We can actually turn that down just a bit, so it's not quite as annoying. Alright, now I've got some video out here I like to use as my copy. Let's go to sci-fi. We'll use Alien. I like Alien 3, and we'll just copy those here for now. And we'll let that copy run. We'll keep the phone running, and we'll make sure everything is copacetic. We'll come back. Okay, so as you can see, the file copy has completed successfully. The phone is still up and running. 16 minutes and 40 seconds. So I'm going to go ahead and hang it up, and we'll call that a success. So, I think this phone is good. Well, in my limited amount of testing I did, this phone is good. So, what we need to do now is move over to the 1400 phone here, the GXP 1400, and we need to start our testing on this. So we will move this cable from my laptop over to this phone, because this is the one that supposedly has the bad switch, and we will see if it works. Now, we still need to do further testing on this GXP 2140, and one of the things that I've asked the client to do is to keep a log file for one day of what number they were calling, what time they were calling, and how long the call lasted before it dropped, so that I can go look at the call logs on the VOIP phone system. That's my next line of deductive reasoning to try and find out why this phone keeps dropping calls. Now I'm going to go ahead and leave this phone at my office for another week and do some more testing on it. In fact, I'll put it on my desk and use it as my daily driver. I don't get a lot of phone calls, but I'll use it while I can here at the home office, and we'll see how it does. So let's go over to this phone next. We're gonna bring it up and make sure it's programmed and on the system, and then we'll try doing a test on it. All right, so we've done a factory restore on this phone. It's ready to go. So the first thing I'm going to do is try to join a conference. And where do I dial? Where's this in button? Right here? There we go.
Please enter conference ID and then press pound. You are creating a new conference. Press pound to cancel or star to continue. Pronounce your name after the signal and then press any button.
Test phone. Oh, sorry, test phone.
sorry, test phone.
Has joined the conference.
Okay, so we'll let the conference run for about 15 minutes. Just to test that, let's come over here. Let's verify that phone is now in conference mode, and it is. Meanwhile, while that's going on, I'm going to go ahead and plug my laptop into the 10100 port on the back and see if I get some connectivity. So right now this yellow cable is plugged into this phone, so I'm going to move it over here to this one. Now the phone is plugged into the back of this Grand Stream, as you can see there. And let's see. Well, as you can see on the side, maybe you can't, I have a light. Appear to have connectivity. So let's bring up Total Commander. Let's go ahead and do our copy again. Copy that over to music, and we're going to overwrite all. Okay, we're getting 100 megabits. Actually, we're getting a little bit better speed than we did on the last phone. And let's wiggle this connection on the back. Well, we're still copying. Alright, we'll let this run. We'll come back and check it here in a minute. So, conference call's been running for 13 minutes and 47 seconds. My laptop has finished copying those files. Now, Kaspersky, please remind me later. Sorry, I'm doing this handheld. You will be happy to know that my microphone for my Canon, for my wonderful, wonderful Canon camera, which is right here. The reason I don't use this yet, more than I should, is because I don't have a microphone for it. So I've ordered a condenser microphone for it, and then I have my eye on a shotgun microphone that I'm going to order for this as well, just because I want one. And that's the only thing keeping me from using this camera right now. I do a lot of stills with it. But anyway, back to this phone. So it ain't broken yet. Okay, let's hang up. And the call right there. Now let's call this is 211, so we'll go over to the desk and we'll call it. Test, test. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, we're just going to leave that run. We're just going to leave this run off the hook for about 15 minutes. See if it dumps the call. Meanwhile, we're going to copy these files again. Sorry about the camera work. And we're going to override all. And then we're going to wiggle the hell out of these cables real quick. So I was wiggling the connection. Look what happened. That's the part that goes inside the phone. Get a little more light on the subject. That's not good at all. That probably shouldn't do that. So I'm going to say we got a bad phone here. I'm not even going to try to repair that. These phones are so cheap. That phone's probably 2 or 3 years old, or it's probably about 4 years old. So we've now successfully diagnosed what the problem on this phone is, and that is the little connector pulled out of the back. Okay, I have snapped that connector. It didn't break. It just pulled out. So it looks like it's an insert connector on the back of this phone. I just plugged it back in. right there where the yellow cable's going. It went right in. We will see. It looks like I have connectivity on my laptop now. See the little lights. So let's retry this copy. And there we go. It's copying again. I'll be a little slow. There it goes. It's back up to 100 megabits per second, or 11,000 kilobits per second, or kilobytes per second. The phone should reboot here in a minute. Then we'll redo the conference call. And I think I've found the problem. We'll just have to mark this phone to be careful. I guess those connectors are just insert connectors, and for whatever reason, the motherboard connector on this phone got a little bit weak. Normally I would tear it apart and put a little super glue on there, but I'm not going to do that on this phone. I'll just set this phone aside and mark it as having a loose secondary switch connection. But I do want to go ahead and take it through diagnostics and let it do the 15-minute conference call again while it's copying these large files. And you can see the switch is the first thing that comes back up on these phones, even though this phone is currently rebooting. So we'll start the conference call again when this is done, or we'll start another call to that other extension when that is done. The phone comes up and register. It looks like it's registered. So let's go over here and do 211. The phone's ringing, so we didn't break it too bad. As you can see, it's ringing. We'll go ahead and take it off hook, and we'll let it sit there and let these files copy, and then we'll come back. Okay, this phone's been testing for 41 minutes, hasn't dropped any calls. I never lost the connection on my laptop. It completed the file transfer without issue. So now we're going to go ahead and hang up the phone. We will make this phone a spare. We take it back to the customer site and to use it in a pinch if another phone would fail. I'm not sure that I trust that connector in the back, but we'll check it. Now this phone, I just need to put it through its paces and do a test on it. I am not going to document that. I'm sure you have better things to do than sit around and watch me test every single phone. You get the gist of it, of what I'm doing. So there you go, a day in the life of the IT. All told, this has taken me about a couple of weeks. I did the swap out of the phones last weekend, not this previous weekend, because today is Thursday, I believe the 8th of June. Is it? Yeah, it's the 8th of June. So I did these Saturday last, or Sunday last. I picked up these phones, or 2 Sundays last, and picked them up. I've just had a backlog of work to do. These are all spare phones, and I've got a couple of more to test with this certain client. But this just goes to show you what goes into servicing one client when you're a one-man band, and the time it takes to test all this stuff and the equipment that is required to provide these services to your customer. For example, I had to buy a PoE switch. I've needed one for a year, so I bought the cheapest I could find. I think it was about $68 on Amazon. It's a Netgear. I trust Netgear products, and I'll just use that for whenever I have a PoE device that I need to, like a phone or even one of these wireless cameras, or hopefully the Ubiquiti it'll work with as well, because I'd like to get rid of those PoE injectors. So there you go. Phone systems are all tested and ready to go back into production. So there you go, another day in the life of an IT guy in the bin, so to speak. Hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found the video entertaining and informative. As usual, give us a thumbs up down below if you liked it, or a thumbs down. Thumbs up down below, or a thumbs down below if you didn't like it. I knew I'd get that out eventually. And I want to talk about something I thought was rather funny. I spent all that time. I set up a live stream last week. If you were part of that, great. It was great to see. I was surprised I had that many people show up. But thanks. I appreciate it. It made me feel really, warm and centered inside and all fuzzy to see all you devoted and loyal subscribers out there who joined me on it. But, truth be told, I had not quite met the 1,000 subscriber mark. I have, as of today, making this video reached 1,001 subscribers, so now it's official. But I was pressed for time, and I wanted to get that video in, and I figured 990 was close enough. And what's really weird is I lost, in the process of making the video, doing the live stream and posting it, I lost 3 subscribers. I don't know where they went. So maybe it was Google saying, yeah, we're just going to make them wait a little bit longer, deny them. Anyway, we finally hit 1,001 subscribers as of today, which would be June the 8th. So I'm happy either way. And thanks again for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. And just remember, we'll see you on the other side.